This episode of Grilled by the Staff Canteen is sponsored by Westlands, the premier specialist British grower of microleaf, growing cresses, edible flowers, inspired leaves, sea herbs and specialty tomatoes. Visit www.westlandsuk.co.uk to find out more. Before we go into this episode of Grilled, we want to let you know that we are currently recording most of our podcasts via Zoom, so the sound quality is not as good as we would like. We are hoping to resume normal podcast service as soon as the world turns itself back the right way round.
Hello everyone and welcome to Grilled, the Staff Canteen podcast for chefs. My name is Tanny, I'm the deputy editor of the Staff Canteen, and today we are talking to Ruth Hanson. She is our chef to watch for the month, and for very good reason, because Ruth has been everywhere. She trained at the Ritz. She was the first female young chef of the year. Not that matters, but hey, breaking grounds is always good. She was on Great British Menu. She was on £1 Million Menu. She has been the head chef at Pomona's and is now the head chef at the Princess of Shoreditch, and is aged 24. Am I wrong?
Just gone 25 last week.
Just gone 25. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. Hello Ruth, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. One thing I forgot to mention, the highlight of your career, of course, was to be on Cara's Lockdown Locking Live earlier this year.
Obviously, of course. It was fun. Like any other interview I've done. So
the very best, for sure. So this podcast is obviously for our listeners to get a better idea of who you are. I want to try and make it a little bit different, because obviously all of the media has wanted to talk to you because you're a great chef and a really interesting person. So I'm going to ask you, before we start into the normal interview questions, I'm going to ask you a few sort of curveball questions, just for people to get to know you a little bit better. So if you had to choose between search engines and social media, which one would you pick and why?
That's a tough one. I think I'd have to go search engine, just because, I think it's more useful and you can use it to find out things that you don't know, whereas social media is things that people put things on social media, but it might not necessarily be something that you want to see. I mean, obviously, I do like social media, but if I had to pick between the two, I think it would be search engine.
Okay, that's very pragmatic. I would probably just give in and be like, nah, just give me Twitter. I'll be fine.
But it'd be very opinions and not facts.
I agree with you. You're just a better person than me.
I mean, hopefully we never get to the point where we have to choose. So
no, hopefully not. Second question, would you rather get caught watching something that's definitely not safe for work at work, or accidentally send something rude about your boss to your boss?
Definitely the first one.
Yeah, I'm probably with you on that as well. Okay, next question. This is a bit less sticky, but I feel like it says you learn a lot about a person when you ask this question. What is your coffee of choice?
A macchiato.
Macchiato. Good. Yeah. I like it. Do you have chocolate with or without nuts, and what colour?
Dark with nuts.
Okay, good. I'm with you so far. Okay, we're not going to make this political, but who would you rather cook for, bearing in mind these couple of things? So would you rather cook for Donald Trump, who reportedly lives on a diet of McDonald's McMuffin, meatloaf sandwiches, Big Macs, filet o fishes and chocolate shakes? Like, no kidding you, apparently that's like the core of his diet. Or Boris Johnson, who apparently is on a diet but previously professed to living on a diet of birthday cake, bagels, bangers and mash and tuna and salads?
That's a tough one. Let's go with Boris Johnson. At least he has a few kind of things in there that aren't just branded.
Yeah. Although Donald Trump might just tell you everything you cook is great.
Probably wouldn't be big enough.
A couple of last ones. Obviously, this is a podcast, so I'm going to ask you, do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a nice thing to do instead of, you listen to music and things, but it is one nice thing that you can do while you're walking around, and you don't necessarily, I think as chefs, we don't necessarily have long periods of time where we get to sit down and read a book, or read the news or whatever. So it's a really nice way of kind of not interact with people, but kind of interact with the world and what's going on. Otherwise you end up being in a bit of a bubble. Because you never watch really like live news and things.
So you were saying you obviously don't get very much time to read books, but if you had to name your favorite book of all time, it doesn't have to be a cookbook, but it can be.
There's a book called The Sorcerer's Apprentice, I think, which is really cool. A woman went to El Bulli, and she wasn't actually in the kitchen, but she just kind of observed for a couple of months, like how the kind of whole system works. And she had some crazy facts, like there's 60,000 people used to apply to, because at El Bulli they just ran the whole place on stages, basically. 60,000 people every year would apply to go there. People are chose, and you go, and you don't get paid or anything, but you learn. And it was a really interesting book.
Yeah, you sign up for maybe the chance to go.
Exactly.
It's probably as likely as winning the lottery or something. Like it's very slim, right?
Yeah, but a few lucky people got it. So I think it's quite strange. For me, it feels quite strange that that's how you would run your restaurant, but I guess it works, and people, like both ends of people, were getting some of the experience, and the other people were kind of getting free labor. So
yeah,
interesting.
Would you go if you could? Well, obviously most chefs would say yes to this, but if you could just get propelled into it, would you do it?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Obviously it's closed now, but unfortunately, but yeah, why not? I think you only have a certain chance to do things, and if you get given those chances, I think you have to do them, otherwise you'll end up regretting it.
Yeah, that was kind of your whole approach to getting into food, but I'll come to that, because I want to ask you a question about like how you really got into food. There's a story that I've seen online a couple of times about you, age 13, having to choose between a polytunnel and a trampoline, and you chose the polytunnel because you loved growing vegetables.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it was a hard choice. I did love that trampoline, but I think it was something. It was a hobby for me. It was something fun that I found quite unique. I had quite a lot of time, and I lived in a small town, so there was not so much going on all the time. So it was one thing that I really kind of just got stuck into and really enjoyed, and it was nice that you could kind of go from having these seeds, and then a couple of months, I mean, depending on what you're growing, some things were really quick, and other things like apple trees and things are a bit more of a labour of love. I never got any apples when I was at home, and now finally my mum and dad keep sending me pictures, because obviously they still live there, of all these apples they've got, and I was like, God damn it.
The fruits of your labour. That must feel so unfair. So how did this hobby come about? Did your parents grow stuff? Did you just see it on telly sometime? Like what?
My parents didn't necessarily grow things. My auntie and uncle did, and I used to go stay with them for a couple of weeks every summer. And they had, they've got a huge garden. It's really nice, and they used to grow strawberries and raspberries and rhubarb and things, and we'd always make jam and things with it. And I think that's probably where it stemmed from. I thought it'd be cool to do something myself. So I dug up the end of the garden once when my mum was away on holiday. I started planting things.
It's definitely at the odder end of like the naughty things that kids have done. You're probably in a small pool of people who could say that. Did you get a chance to do any gardening during lockdown? Is that one of the things that you did? Because I know a lot of people turned to that during the few months where they weren't able to work in restaurants.
Yeah, to be honest, I did bits and bobs, but not so much. I kind of used lockdown. I was doing lots of things that I wouldn't necessarily do in the restaurant. So like gyozas and bao buns, and we use a lot of British produce here and a lot of classical French techniques. But I used it kind of not for any particular reason, but more for myself and just exploring different cuisines that I don't get to cook, but I love eating.
Where did you spend lockdown? Were you in London, or did you go back to Northeast? Or
no, I was in London, so I live with my partner, which was nice to be able to spend so much time with him.
Yeah,
because usually that doesn't happen. He's a development chef as well. So he was still working, actually. He works for a big company called Premier Foods. So they helped do all the packs and things for the vulnerable. So he was still quite busy.
That's good. Did you help him out at any point, or is that something that you have ever dabbled in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was helping him out because I didn't have so much to do myself. So we were filming videos and things. So they were looking a lot into the side of helping people kind of use their products to set up maybe their restaurant boxes and things. So we were doing lots of filming and bits and bobs of that.
And so you took on your role at the Princess of Shoreditch. And how have things been since you reopened?
It's been really good, actually. There's been so much positive feedback, and I think the amount of people have actually taken the time to come out, it's been really nice. Although I say that after the new restrictions, lunch has kind of gone a bit. Because obviously we're in an area where there's lots of businesses, and usually that would be people coming out for lunch with their people that they work with, and that's not allowed anymore. So that's, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah. So you're having to make up for it in the evenings.
Yeah, and Sundays have been crazy, a lot busier than I could have imagined.
So how has it been? Obviously you were at Pomona's before, but how has it been having, the full control over the menu and being able to exercise your own creative control over the entirety of the food offering?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Obviously down to, it's not just the food offering as well, because we completely changed what we were offering here. We had a refurb, and I was able to kind of have my input on the design of the restaurant, all the tableware and glassware and cutlery. So I've had so much input. It's been great. Because those things matter as well. At the end of the day, it's not just, it is the food, but all those other little things do support what you're making. So.
Oh, and to have your own brand on it, and for it to be personal to you, just means that you've got so much all of that all-encompassing experience for people.
Yeah, we've had some kind of great little pieces made as well, some wooden boards from a guy who's in Worcestershire, and some little plates and sauce jugs from a woman in North Yorkshire. And it's been really fun to kind of work with them as well. And, you pick up the phone and say, this is what I want, and then see it come to life. It's been really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It must have been quite a frustrating few months for you. I mean, after being at the Ritz, you've had a few stops and starts, working with, you had your £1 million menu project, and I don't know if you want to tell us about what happened with that, and then you were at Pomona, so I don't know why you decided to turn the page, but has it been a freeing experience for you to finally be okay, this is what I'm doing, I've got a project and I'm set on this, and I'm doing this for the foreseeable?
Yeah, I think just say that I can't really say too much about it without dissing a certain chef, so I'll just skip over the menu thing. I mean, I think in my previous kind of roles after I left the Ritz, it's like everything. You start a project and it kind of seems great at the beginning, but then slowly down the road you realise that maybe your goals and aspirations and that of the owners don't really meet. At the beginning, probably everyone's excited to be working together, and so they just kind of maybe ignore little niggles that they've got, and then further down the road you're like, actually, we don't see eye to eye. Whereas this project, I'm lucky I found a great owner who really shares the same views and beliefs and goals as I do. So it's very exciting to be on this side.
I mean, I've looked at the menu, like I was saying before, and it is like a love letter to British produce. Every single ingredient just seems like the best of a region of Britain. And I know that is something that you're quite fond of, and it's quite close to your heart. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think especially now, it's really important to support small suppliers and producers. I think COVID has really emphasised on that, and a lot more people have thought about that from their home purchasing as well, where they haven't been able to get things from the supermarket. They have gone, and hopefully for the better now, they're kind of educated a little bit more themselves about the reason why we need to support them. And they're absolutely fantastic now. It's so much better than it was maybe 10, 20 years ago when France was probably dominating the fruit and vegetable market and the cheese market and things. We have got better at so many things, and I think it's really important to kind of highlight and showcase that.
Voting is now open for nominees in the Staff Canteen Awards 2020. There are 6 categories, and the nominees with the most votes will go through to our shortlist. The winner of each shortlist will be decided by you, our audience, and they'll get their hands on a must-have gold mug. Go and take a look at our nominations page and vote for your favourite. Make sure you share on social that you have voted and support your chosen nominee. To vote, go to www.thestaffcanteen.com/TSC-awards. Voting ends on the 3rd of November.
What are the things that motivate you?
I think definitely it's kind of customer satisfaction. That's the one thing that I think most chefs would tell you. You know, it's if you see somebody put something in their mouth and if you see their expression, they love it. That's kind of the best feedback you can get. You know, people can say that was great, but you can't really hide that first expression when somebody eats something. And it's that kind of gratification. You know, I think we all love being, you know, we like to make people happy, and we all love being told that we've been able to make somebody happy. And yeah. I think personally for me, food is the best way to do that.
There's something about your love for, like, your original love for growing your own veg as well, which is like you see something through. So you start with something and you end with something, and you see the reward of what you've done.
Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, it is like lots of dishes and things in the kitchen. Growing veg is a labor of love, you know. It doesn't always work out, and you've kind of spent 6 months waiting for it to come, and then maybe it's not so great, but you make it great because you've grown it. And it's the same with any dish, like stocks and sauces and things that take hours and hours. You have to kind of, always look after it like a little baby or something.
In your time on television and taking part in competitions, you as a chef have built up a reputation for someone that is very good at maintaining calm and composure and focus, and obviously someone that perseveres, because you tried for Young Chef of the Year a couple of times and you got there, and you got yourself onto Great British Menu, which, you know, nobody really knows how they pick people, but they seem to always find the best chefs in the country. So, like, what would you say for you is, like, how do you do that? What is it that allows you to have that sort of focus and calm composure?
I don't know. It's quite a difficult one. I think being organised obviously helps you a lot, and practice. You know, I spent, especially when I was at the Ritz, I think whenever I did competitions, you know, I was there working every single hour I could to make sure that no matter what happened, like, there was variables that I could control, like this might happen, but I know that I'll do this, and always forward planning. And I think maybe a lot of that was, I did a competition called World Skills. So you do kind of like, it's like not the Culinary Olympics, but vocational Olympics, because there's somebody from lots of different skills. So there's like a hairdresser, a bricklayer, a beautician, and a chef, and you all go as like this Team UK, but you do kind of 3-4 years training before you go. So it's not just about your specific skill, but also about how you react to different situations, and you do like psychology training, and it was very intense, but I think I learned so much from it. Yeah, it was crazy, but I learned so much from it, not just about bettering, you know, my cooking skills, but about my competing skills and being able to kind of thrive. So I think that's it. So now kind of anything else that I do after that is kind of like, oh, that's fine.
That's a great attitude to have. And then I know that one of the things, well, the thing that got you into cooking was the Springboard's Future Chef competition. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Springboard is a great charity and they do loads of stuff for the industry. What would you say the value of those kind of initiatives is? And do you see yourself like being on the other side of that and doing mentoring or doing anything like that in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since then I have judged Future Chef. I think I've done everything for that. I've been a mentor. I got a student through to the national finals, not last year, the year before. So it is something I really love to do. And I think it's the competitions like that are for the younger children, need to be happening a lot more often, I think. Because for me, if I didn't do Future Chef, I would never have thought to be a chef. Although, as I say, I love to grow vegetables and I love to cook. It wasn't something that I would have ever thought to do, because I think being a chef has got a certain stigma. And I always thought that I would go to university, and I wanted to become a doctor at that point. I tried, I was kind of really trying a lot at school. And I think if I'd have said to myself, like 12-year-old me or something, oh, you're going to be a chef, I would have laughed, because I thought it was quite, something that people fall into. And I think that's what a lot of people think. But it's kind of competitions like Future Chef that really highlight how great the industry is. And, make it more of a professional industry rather than what people think it is if you're not in the industry.
There's definitely a lot of stigma, but there's also a lot of stigma being broken. And I'm sure, like, the typical questions that people always ask female chefs is like your experience as a female chef. But I think we're almost getting to a point now where that's like an irrelevant thing to say, because it's perfectly accessible, and there are plenty of amazing women in this industry.
The thing that I would think about is whether it's a lifestyle you could kind of maintain if you wanted to have children.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, that it doesn't really affect me. But if you were somebody who really loved cooking and you wanted to be a chef, but also you wanted to have a family, I guess that's where the difficulty comes in, and maybe that's why people are females are deterred from. There's lots of options now. There's lots of kind of contract catering and other things that aren't so kind of rigid with doing double shifts and working so many hours. So there's ways around it, but I think that personally for me, that's kind of the main thing that deters women from coming in.
Yeah, for sure. But it's probably also likely now that having that conversation is easier, and yes, it might stop you from, maintaining a contract in a hotel kitchen, but it doesn't mean that the most progressive of employers aren't going to keep you on or aren't going to want you back. And there are plenty of them out there now when you look at the high caliber chefs. Is there anyone that you particularly look up to in the industry?
I always get asked this, and I think, do you mean female? Sorry.
No, anyone generally.
Okay.
Like figureheads.
I think I always say this, but definitely my first two head chefs, John Williams from the Ritz and Frederick Forster. He was my first ever chef. I actually met him at Future Chef, and it was him that kind of put the idea in my head that I would come to London and become a chef. He gave me his business card and said, if you are ever in London, give me a call. So that's what I did. I kind of finished my GCSEs, found a flat on Gumtree and gave him a call and said, look, I'm in London. I need a job. Help. Yeah, he took that risk. I was only I'd just gone 16 at the time, and I didn't really have any training whatsoever. But he took that risk, which I'm forever grateful.
Oh, and you made that leap going from home to London. So I guess what he saw in you was someone that was a risk taker, an adventurous person.
Yes, a mad woman.
Where are you in your mind space right now? Like, are you in a contented position in your role? Is there anything that you think like, right, in the next 5 years, I want to be doing this? Or are you just like happy that you can go to work every day given the circumstances and just going to focus on that?
Yeah, yes, I'm content where I am. I think as in, I'm here and this is what I want, and this is where I want to spend my time. I don't think I'll ever be content. You're never content with what you have. You always want to you always want to do better, and that's I think a good trait.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep progressing, and hopefully things will get better and better, and that's all you want that's all I want for myself and the team here. I think you should never kind of say, right, that's it, I'm content. You always want to better yourself.
And do you see yourself ever leaving the capital? Is it a place that you like to be in terms of its food scene?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Not now. Maybe when I'm old.
You're certainly a far cry from that.
Yeah, so I think if I ever moved anywhere, it would be back up north. But certainly not in the foreseeable future.
How are you feeling about the sort of current circumstances with restrictions and that one?
It's difficult, isn't it? You just have to kind of take every day as it comes, and as I say, I'm just very grateful that people are still coming out and kind of trusting us and having that faith, because obviously without customers, we've got no one to cook for.
Like, having seen how people have come back, do you think that people were scared of coming back, or do you think that people literally just did what they were told, and now that they're allowed to go back out, they're like, yes, running back out to restaurants?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's split, and I do think that comes with age. Really, I think everybody who's young kind of thinks that they're going to be able to fight it off, and they're just kind of invincible, as we always do, really, with anything. I guess. Whereas people who are in those high risk categories obviously are a lot more wary.
Oh, and when you think about it, in any kind of higher caliber of cooking, you're dealing with higher price points, so you have to depend on that demographic to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it tricky. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, although we're not too expensive actually. We've opened with, I think, a very reasonable menu.
Good.
Don't be scared off, young people.
You'll be seeing me for a roast soon. Don't worry, that's already on the cards. Well, listen, Ruth, it's been lovely to talk to you. I'll let you crack on because I'm sure you've got dinner service to prepare for.
Cool. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this interview, and if you have any comments, feel free to tweet us or comment on the post. We're making all of our interviews available to download. And if you want to support us to continue creating great content with amazing people from the hospitality industry, please take a look at our contribution scheme on www.thestaffcanteen.com. This episode of Grilled by the Staff Canteen is sponsored by Westlands, the premier specialist British grower of microleaf, growing cresses, edible flowers, inspired leaves, sea herbs and specialty tomatoes. Visit www.westlandsuk.co.uk to find out more.